Today we are reviewing a brand new for 2023 pressure cooker.
The Instant Pot Rio Wide Plus. This is the sibling, cousin, distant cousin?
Shares the same name.
As the regular Instant Pot Rio, but the Plus kind of gives you an indication that it's got a lot in common with the Instant Pot Duo Plus. We got reviews for the regular Duo on our YouTube channel and for the Whisper Quiet Duo Plus.
As well as the Rio, which is a 6-quart. This one is a 7.5-quart.
Yes.
It's shorter and wider.
The exterior is made of a really hard plastic like the regular Rio model. And unlike a lot of the Instant Pot models that we've seen previously where they have a stainless steel exterior, I actually like this change for the better because it's so hard. I don't have to be quite as careful getting it in and out of my cupboards because I've dented a few of our stainless steel ones.
Just little dents.
It's cosmetic, but still I look at it and I'm like, clumsy! So, and then this one is a shiny gray plastic and it's kind of got little like sparklies. Like, I think they're going for like a quartz look or a marble look with it. And I think that's what they've got.
Yeah, and so it doesn't have the metal on top or you're not going to burn yourself. That's one of the features that we really like about it.
Yeah, like the Duo Plus, it has the new Whisper Quiet lid. This one is a matte plastic. The Duo Plus is a see-through. I don't know if that matters to you, but they're about the same. And then it works by, it's got this little...
Like a maze.
Yes.
That the steam kind of snakes through.
Yep, and then before being let out these two kind of edge channels.
Little vents.
Yes, and so when it vents in two columns kind of back and away. It is more quiet than a normal pressure release, but I personally would not call it whisper quiet. And then, as you can see, you can remove the Whisper Quiet cover. You've got your regular steam release valve. And then you've got your float valve right here underneath a little silicone plug, which is kind of useful when, for the odd occasion where if you've cooked like a pot of oatmeal and the float valve's gotten stuck up, after a little bit, you can kind of help release the pressure.
Right, if you know all the pressure has gone in there, you can use something to push it down with. That's been a problem with the Ultimate that they've had, and there's no access to the float valve, so that's a nice feature on this model.
Yeah, we really like that about it. And then the pressure release slider is kind of far away from where the steam release actually comes out, which again, I like because sometimes when I'm going fast and not paying attention, I'll release the pressure and my hand will get the first burst of steam.
Right, so you just go here and you'd slide it into the venting position, and then when you lock the lid in place, it automatically switches back to the sealed position, which is a great feature that I really like.
Yep, you don't have to remember to do it. It just stays there.
Right.
One thing you'll notice about this is that it does not have lid fins. The lid fins are the one little sticky outy parts on the lid that other Instant Pot models have.
So like on this model, see how it has these fins and they just stick into the side, but that's not a feature on this.
My guess is it would make it too top heavy. This lid feels a little bit more substantial than most like other Instant Pot lids, so that's my guess as to why they went that way.
It's substantially wider.
Yeah. So get that back in place.
There we go.
Okay. Another one of the things we really like is this display. Again, it takes a lot from the Duo Plus, where it's got the knob and the
dot matrix
display that will give you kind of more textual clues about what's going on inside the pot. And it also has the really nice bar layout that shows you where it's at.
It shows you if it's coming to pressure, cooking at pressure, or in the keep warm section.
And the only other thing you need to know about the Instant Pot Rio Wide Plus is that the lid silicone gasket, right now, I have not been able to find ones for the 7.5-quart available for purchase. But one of the nice things that I've liked about Instant Pots in the past is that the 6-quart silicone gasket that came with my first Instant Pot Luxe, like 13 years ago, would still work with the Instant Pot Pro Plus that we reviewed last year.
Yeah, so the 6-quart gaskets are interchangeable amongst the models.
Yes.
But that's not the case with this model.
Because it's the only 7.5-quart Instant Pot as of filming the video. I like the new wide, and so it wouldn't surprise me to see other models come out in a wide format down the road, and hopefully at that time it'll be easier to get your hands on an extra gasket.
So it comes with 2 gaskets,
yes.
right? It comes with this clear one as well as the red one, and it also comes with this little trivet.
Yep, I like to use my red gasket for sweets and my regular clear gasket for savory everyday cooking. Just that way my oatmeal doesn't smell like last night's barbecued ribs.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with the Instant Pots is the silicone gaskets, the sealing rings absorb odors. And so we like to have extra ones on hand just to not have to worry about that problem.
Yep, that's right. And that's not specific to just Instant Pots. That happens with any model of electric pressure cooker. It's just one of those things about the food grade silicone that is used. Okay, so first off, when you get it out of the box, you're going to need to know how to clean the different parts so it's nice and ready for you to have your food. You saw me pull off this Whisper Quiet valve. It just has a little notch that you pop off. I guess it's a valve cover. And then I always, when I wash my, take this out.
And you wash the lid.
When I wash the lid, I like to make sure I have everything off. And then it's got this little silver anti-block shield, which helps prevent like foods like oatmeal or pastas, anything that foams, applesauce, from getting food residue up into where that float valve goes. But it just pops off pretty easy. So I will pop that off and I'll wash it and put it right on the drying mat. And then over here, you've got your float valve. So I'll remove the little silicone gasket, and I like to put my finger in just to kind of pop out the float valve. So to pop it out, and then I can just take off this outside mini gasket and then just let the float valve fall into my hand. So this is your float valve. It's just a little guy, and I'll wash that and then I like to put it right back in even when I'm still washing the lid. So again, I just use my little pinky finger in the hole to help it stay put. Make sure that mini gasket goes right back on. There we go. And now it's ready to be in place. And then once this is dried off, you pop that in place too. It's easier to do when I'm not holding it.
Okay, and then the only other thing we didn't talk about was this steam release valve. It just pulls straight up, and then you can rinse that off as well.
Yeah, you need to be careful because inside this steam release valve is this little teeny tiny like pyramid shaped valve cone. And if that cone piece comes off, your Instant Pot lid will not come to pressure the way it needs to. So just be careful that when you're pulling it off, it's a straight up and not like a over. You notice when we pop it in place, it's still got a little bit of a jiggle. That's totally normal. That's the way it's made. So don't worry about that. Put this little silicone cover in place and then just pop it in. It's got 2 little teeny tiny feet.
Like little notches that you've got to
You match up, put those ones in first and then pop it down in the back. So that's the lid.
You can actually put the lid in the dishwasher on the top rack if you prefer. But we like to take it apart like that and make sure it's really clean. If I'm cooking something like hard-boiled eggs, then I'll just shake the water off and not worry about it because it's just hot steam. But definitely if you cook something like oatmeal or pasta that foams, you're going to want to make sure you clean that really well.
Because it's amazing how sneaky food can get under there just a little bit. So next we'll talk about, once you get this clean, I just clean it with nice soapy water. And then I'll dry it with a towel. The sealing rings have a little notch on the inside and they're flat on the edges. And you just, there we go. So then you just push in place and then keep pushing. I always like to start in the same place. That way I can make sure that my rings are fully in place. If I were to put it on the lid right now, because this part is not fully seated,
tucked in place, yeah, seated.
it would let steam out that side and my food wouldn't come to pressure.
Right, so if you ever see just a little bit of steam coming off around the lid, you know that sealing ring is not in place in that spot. Or if you see steam coming around the whole edges, you forgot to put your sealing ring in place.
I've done that.
So, I mean, that happens, and you just go ahead and let the pressure release and add more liquid if you need to, and then do it again.
Yep. So after I push it in place, I like to just kind of run my finger around it one quick time to double check that there's no bumps or anything out, but it works out great. So we've got, that's the lid, it's ready to go. And then inside the pot, it comes with, like we said, this sealing ring and then this little handy dandy trivet. Because these little handles are kind of short compared to other versions, I often will just tuck them under while I'm cooking.
Yeah, we haven't found those handles to be particularly useful, but you do often, if you're cooking pot and pot, need a little trivet. So
Yeah,
it's nice that that's been included.
It's nice to have. So, and then we've got our cooking pot, which just comes up. You can see how much different it is compared to the normal Instant Pot pan. Do we have an Instant Pot pan?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I have my,
Your Pro.
yeah, so this one is a 6-quart, and it's the Pro with the handles.
And this is the
But you see how
7.5
much
quart.
shorter it is?
It's
But then you can also see how much wider it is.
right, like, but it still is the same classic stainless. The bottom is slightly domed, like you would see in like the Instant Pot Rio. Unlike the Pro that Mom just showed you, the Pro has a nice flat bottom and you can use it on a stovetop. The Rio Wide Plus is not, you can't use it on the stovetop because of this like doming. And when you're going to be sauteing in there, sometimes your oils or butters will run to the edges because of the just slight dome of the pot. So this one you can wash this in the dishwasher too if you like. I hand wash it again because I baby my pots a little bit.
And I'll usually just throw it in the bottom rack of the dishwasher because seems like I have a lot of glasses, but not very much down there on the bottom now that there's just 2 of us at home.
It's true, and I've got kids with plastic plates, so it's just easier to clean. And then this right here is your housing. This is kind of where all the magic happens. The #1 rule of the housing is you don't want to add any liquids to your housing. So the wooden spoon trick is one of my favorite go-tos because it's a very visual reminder. When I'm in a hurry to get dinner done while the kids are being crazy, I don't accidentally add liquids to this. You can bring it back from having liquids added directly to the housing, but you've got to let it drain for days and like thoroughly dry out.
Exactly, and everybody thinks, oh, I would never add it, but people do. They add rice or they add water. Happens all the time. We get comments about what do I do now? But so that's a good tip. Just put something over it when it's out, and then you won't have that problem.
So, and then because you can't get it wet, you want to clean the inside with like a very lightly soapy, lightly damp rag. No drips, nothing like that, but just enough to get it, like a little bit of soup was running down the edge.
Yeah, you can get on this
Yeah.
heating element and you just wipe that off.
Yeah, just wipe it off. And same with the exterior. A damp cloth will work great. Then last but not least, we've got this little guy. This is the condensation collector cup.
Yep.
Sure. And this, as you'll see, there's like a track, a ring around the edge where when the lid's locked in place, any steam that is like consolidating on the lid, I don't know how you would say it.
Yeah, little drips come down here and they run down into the condensation
Drain into the cup.
and we'll collect that. So I don't very often have much in the cup, but it's a good idea to keep it checked on it and just to keep, periodically checking it and rinsing that out just in case something did
go in. And I like that this one is so much bigger and easier to like snap in place. So I think that's it for the cleaning. Let's get started with the cooking. Yay, you've got it already. If you want, you can do a water test with your Instant Pot where you...
You're basically just learning how to use your pressure cooker, making sure it functions properly. And it's just like boiling water on the stove, only you're doing it under pressure. It's a great way to get used to your pressure cooker.
And we've got a video about how to do that if you want to check that out. But so you know, if you read through the user manual, they tell you that you need to use like 3 or 4 cups of water to do the water test. I used 1/2 cup. And it works out great. In our experience, this cooks a lot like an 8-quart sized Instant Pot. And so when you are cooking in a little bit larger size pot, sometimes you need to add a little more liquid.
Yeah, so we could use like 1.5 cups to do our little water test on this Rio Wide Plus.
Yes, and just so you know, the user manual sometimes calls it a Rio Plus Wide. And it seems like there may at some point be a Rio Wide. So don't get confused on the name. This model, Rio Wide Plus, go with it.
Is plus because it has some advanced features like yogurt and
sous vide, which is lacking in the regular Rio. And the Whisper Quiet lid like the Duo Plus has. So I think that's, the Plus indicates that it's got this cool display and the cooler redesigned lid, I think.
So should we go ahead and put some water in and show them how the buttons work?
Let's do it. Okay, we've got our cup of water right here. Again, if you're more comfortable going user manual style, go for it, add more. The more liquid you have in your pot, the longer it takes to come to pressure and the longer it takes to release the steam. So as you can see, with that 1 cup of water is just barely enough to cover the bottom of the Instant Pot. And then we're going to lock the lid in place. To do it, it's got a little arrow on the front that goes down to this notch. And you line it up right there and then twist. As you twist, there's this little like iron rod, steel rod, I don't know. When the lid's unlocked, that rod will be out. And when the lid is locked, it goes all the way in. And this is kind of a nice feature. If you're having trouble getting the lid off, sometimes like a little bit of foam will come up there. You can kind of look to see if that is in or out, and that kind of gives you a clue as to why it's not coming off. For our water test, we're going to use a cook time of 1 minute. So hit select pressure cook. And do you see how you've got custom flashing? That means that's the one you will select. If you turn the knob, you could change it to sterilize or egg. We're going to use custom here, so that's what I want. You press the dial to select it, and now this allows us to change our cook time. So up to 10, down to, it goes all the way down to 0, which is really useful if you're cooking broccoli. We're just going to do 1 minute. And then if you press the dial again, it lets you choose between high pressure and low pressure. We're going to choose high since it's flashing. I know that's the one I'm selecting. And then when you've got it already, custom 1 minute pressure cook on high pressure, go ahead and hit that start button. And now you see it did its 3 beeps, and you see this little flashing indicator right here under the preheating section letting you know that the pot is starting to heat up and everything's going right. I think we're pretty close. So on that one, you could hear the float valve rattling just a little bit, and then you heard it let it go, whoop, sound, and it is sealed in place, but the cook time hasn't started yet, and that's simply because it is almost at pressure, but not entirely at pressure. So that beep indicated that we reached pressure, and now the cook time will start to count down, and you'll see the little cooking flashing light.
Bars?
The bars. Not flashy light thingy, the bars. The cooking bars have lit up and let you know that it's counting down the time.
We set just a 1 minute cook time, so it'll be quick, and then we'll show you how you do a quick release. We have a whole video on pressure releases, natural pressure release, quick pressure release, intermittent.
Sometimes while it's cooking, it'll release a little bit of steam. that's another safety feature.
Okay.
So now you've heard the ding-a-ling. That's what we call it at our house. But that means that the cook time is over, and now it's on the keep warm setting. There is still definitely pressure in the pot. If I tried to twist this lid, it wouldn't let me, and also wouldn't be a safe idea. So now we get to release the pressure. There's this slider up here, but before you release the pressure, you want to make sure that the steam is not going to go right at you. And the way that we are angled with this, it will. So should I turn it?
Maybe just step back and you'll be fine.
Okay.
I'll release the pressure.
Perfect.
Okay, come back up. You think it's safe?
Okay. So keep in mind the steam is quite hot. And you don't want to release the steam under any like overhang cabinets, or like if you have the pretty pendant lights, just to be on the safe side. So the pressure is almost released. You'll hear the float valve drop.
Just dropped?
It just dropped. And then on this model, it takes like a beat or two, but eventually the text will change to say okay to open lid.
Nice.
And so then you can just twist it.
Just want to open it
Give
away
it a little
from
wiggle. And then do you see all these drips right there? They're really hot. So I like to kind of give it a little shake. And then since this one doesn't have the lid fins to stick it into, I usually just put it in the bottom of my sink. You can put it on a trivet on your counter, whatever works for you. But that's it. It's just that easy to do pressure cooking. What we did with this water test, essentially, if you add rice and a little bit of salt, we've shown you all the steps to make rice.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about the saute function.
The saute setting is so useful because it lets you make your entire meal all in one dish. That's what RIO stands for. It's revolutionary, innovative, one pot wonder.
There you go. So like if you want to do a roast, you'll brown your roast first, then you'll deglaze the pot, and then pressure cook it so it's nice and tender.
After you deglaze the pot, you got to scrape the bottom off just like you would in a frying pan, because you want all that tender flavor goodness in your pot.
Right, browning really adds so much flavor. If I'm doing pot roast, you can really taste the difference in your gravies if you've browned it and got all those yummy bits off the bottom. The flavor.
When I'm in a hurry and I just need to get food in the kids' bellies, sometimes I'll skip that step, especially if it's a dish that I'm making that I know has a lot of seasoning and a lot of other add-ins for the flavor. But if it's a very simple, like a roast where that beef gravy's flavor depends on the browning, then I'll make sure I do that. You can also like brown your onions and garlic in the pot, or you can use it after cooking to thicken sauces and to kind of finish your dish. So this one, the Rio Wide Plus, has the more complete, advanced sauteing setting. So you can really choose like a specific temperature if you want to cook your meat at, or your veggies at, or your sauces.
So if I'm browning onions and celery, I would use a medium setting. If I'm searing meat, I want it hot. And the pressure cooker will actually say hot on the dial. So you want to wait until it says hot before you do a nice sear on your meat. But if I'm doing a simmer, I just want it to gently bubble after a sauce is thickened or something. I'll turn it down on just a level 1.
Yeah. And when you're cooking, if something is cooking hotter than you like if you just know at your altitude, in your area, whatever, it cooks faster than you're ready for, you can always turn it down a notch or two. It allows you to set a custom saute setting. So we'll walk through that.
Right. We'll just show you how to do. You saute and then use your dial and set it. So we'll walk you through that.
You need to do it with the lid off. You hit the saute. You can adjust this time. Default is 30 minutes. You can adjust it down or up by spinning the dial. I almost never change it because I'm never going to be sauteing for 30 minutes. And then you can choose whether you want to set a custom cook time a custom cook temperature, a low temperature, or a high temperature by spinning the dial. This is, since the low is flashing, that's the one that it would select. Now high is flashing, so that's the one it would select. And then when custom flashes, you select it. And then you turn the dial to adjust between the high and the low custom setting. When you've got the setting you want, we'll say we're doing like onions, do it at a level 4, maybe level 3. Then make sure you hit the start button and it'll tell you it's preheating for your level 3 saute. So that's all there is to it. If you don't hit cancel, if you've like sauteed your beef and you're ready to like pressure cook, if you don't hit cancel and try to put the lid on, it's going to beep at you because the saute setting is designed to be used with the lid off. And so you have to hit cancel, then you can put the lid on and select your pressure cook. Or if you're done sauteing and you want to switch to the keep warm setting, again, press cancel to end the saute, and then you can push that little keep warm setting on if you want.
But generally, the keep warm setting will automatically come on after you've pressure cooked, which is a nice feature because maybe you had to run to the store to grab bread to have with your dinner. And so you can not worry about the pressure, you can just leave it and it'll be keep warm, and then you know your dinner will be hot and ready to eat when you get home.
The only time I turn the keep warm setting off is when we've served up food and we all are eating at the dinner table. Sometimes like the keep warm setting is still warm, and so we've accidentally left it on. I think it can stay on for like up to 24 hours, which you can change the time on that if you want. But I generally, after everybody's been served first, I'll hit cancel and turn the pressure cooker off. That way we just don't have like a very thin, dry layer of rice at the bottom.
Yeah, especially with something like rice that can overcook.
Yeah.
You either want to remove your pan from the pot or else just turn off that keep warm setting. Or you can even unplug it, which I sometimes just find easier.
Same.
Ideally, your appliances aren't supposed to be plugged in all the time anyway. So.
And then when we're having like a big group over and we want to keep, we've got like Swedish meatballs in there that people are going to keep coming back to and getting more throughout the day, we'll leave it on for that as well.
One thing that you need to be aware of with this model is since it's 7 and a half quarts, you're going to have to use a little more liquid when pressure cooking and more oil when you're sauteing.
Definitely. On this, when we've tried to saute meats in it, 1 tablespoon of oil is not enough to coat the bottom of the cooking pot. So we always use 2 for that. And in all of my cooking, I've found it to work quite a bit like an 8-quart, where on certain recipes, like if you're cooking like a thick, like our pumpkin still cut oats granola, which I adore, you need to basically cook a double batch of it in order to have enough liquid in the pot.
Yeah, but one thing we do love about this wider pan is that we can use a 9.5-inch pan. So if you wanted to make a traditional
9-inch pan,
9-inch pan, then you can make a 9-inch cheesecake in here, which is really fun.
Which is awesome.
That's all there is to it. It's simple and easy to use.
Yep. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.